everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a more sadder topic, unfortunately. I am making the decision to euthanize my leopard gecko. In this video we're going to be talking about why I decided to euthanize my leopard gecko, what method of euthanasia I am using, and why I decided to use this method. Here I just wanted to do a quick disclaimer. The video is going to be talking about death. It is going to be talking about dying animals. It is going to be talking about some of the methods that people use to euthanize their pets, and some of those methods are a little gruesome, and I'm going to be going into detail about some of them, so I'm just going to give you guys a warning. This is not going to be a censored video. We're going to get into it all. Regardless of what I say in this video, it is still up to you, and it is still your responsibility to do your own research. I am not a vet, okay? I did a whack of research into how the process is done, and as well as other forms of euthanasia that people tend to do. All the references that I used to do my research and that I used to make my decision to euthanize my leopard gecko, I have linked in the description box below. And in this video, I'm going to be putting forth the information that I found. So let me give you guys a little bit of history about my leopard gecko. So my leopard gecko's name is Randall, and I've had Randall for about 5 years now. I got him when I was 18 years old at my first animal job. I would say he was kind of like a rehome. Now, Randall used to be an ambassador animal. So he used to go to children's birthday parties and other educational events to teach families and children all about reptiles and other animals and wildlife. I was thinking about getting my first reptile, and I was looking into getting a leopard gecko. My boss had 2 leopard geckos, and she said she only needed the one. So she gave him to me, tank and all, for free, and he was my first reptile that I had. She did say that he had about a few previous owners, about 2 or more. He is roughly probably around 15 to 20 years old, which is the life expectancy for a leopard gecko. In the past few months, I started to notice that my leopard gecko was losing weight. So I decided to take him to a vet to get checked out. And they did some tests on him. They didn't really find anything. Said that he seemed a little dehydrated and he probably just needed some extra tender love and care. So over the past few months, I mostly just been feeding him extra nutritious meals. I've been feeding him things like waxworms, mealworms, and lots of crickets, and been feeding him more frequently, and it seemed to have been working for a while. His weight did go back up to a more normal weight. But recently, I was cleaning his enclosure last night, and I noticed that he looked a little swollen in the abdomen on the sides. And I picked him up and I noticed what I can only describe looks like a tumor. So this is Randall, everybody. So as you can see, he's pretty bony. You can see his spine pretty clearly down the back here. He's got a pretty thin tail. You can see that the top of his head a little bit. You can see it's pretty bony as well. He's got no fat on him. But what I did notice is that although he may be thin, I did notice that his belly was kind of swollen. So that is what it looks like. It looks all messed up in there. I'm gonna have the vet double make sure that it's a tumor, but you can see that there's definitely something going on in there, and that his belly is pretty swollen, especially on the one side. I've known for a while that my leopard gecko has been slowly on his way out. I've just been treating him extra special and keeping an eye on him. as he is an old man. Now, I don't know if my leopard gecko is in a lot of pain or anything, but I am sure that it is causing him some discomfort and that over time this tumor will only get worse. Keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger until, I don't know. I don't want to know. Is my leopard gecko going to explode? Just because something can still continue to live does not mean that you're giving it a good quality of life. It's difficult because animals don't have a voice and we are the ones that have to give them that voice. I just think of it as, you know, if I was this animal, I would not want to slowly let this illness take over me and slowly let it kill me. Okay, so let's start getting into the methods of euthanasia that I've heard of or have seen or have been done and have been talked about. So one of the first forms of euthanasia that I want to talk about, which is one of the most common ones that I find people tend to talk about, is freezing. Historically, a lot of reptiles have been killed by freezing, and freezing for the longest time was seen as a very acceptable method to euthanize an animal such as a reptile. Although for reptiles, low temperatures can cause a state of inactivity and lethargy, which is called torpor. What people don't know is that before that happens and before the animal goes to sleep, as people like to think, ice crystals are said to form in the tissues of the animal, which can cause intense pain. It can form in things like the eyes and other soft tissues in the body before the animal actually freezes and dies. Freezing should only be done to anesthetize the animal, but even then it is still risky, and I would not recommend freezing as a humane method to euthanizing a reptile. The next form of euthanasia that I'm going to talk about is cervical dislocation and decapitation. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, decapitation is cutting the animal's head off, which I think is quite gruesome and messy, and I think most loving reptile owners do not want to do that to their beloved pet. And cervical dislocation is when you break the neck quickly. Now, this isn't said to be ideal because the brain of a reptile, when it's decapitated, can apparently last up to an hour after the head has been decapitated. The central nervous system of reptiles is extremely tolerant to anoxia, which is the absence of oxygen. Therefore, methods of euthanasia that interrupt blood flow to the brain are not usually suitable for reptiles. I just wanted to go into the decapitation a little bit more. I wanted to read from this one article and website that I came across. I just have to read this out. This is a bit graphic, warning. In this one article, I quote, "As hard to believe as it is sometimes, the heads cut from reptiles live on well after the horrific event of decapitation itself. It is not a case of nerves causing the head to move unconsciously as most people think. The heads and parts of the neck, if still attached, are alive, and some may attempt to bite objects when approached. The eyes may follow movement, and the pupils contract and dilate in response to light and dark. They can blink in the case of snakes and lizards, flick out their tongues to test the air for scent, and even move slightly if some of their neck is left." Guys, it's just don't cut the heads of your reptiles off. Just don't do it. Now, another method that I feel is not too common anymore is gassing. People talk about the inhalation of various different gases that can be used to euthanize animals.
A lot of species of reptiles can hold their breath, therefore inhalant agents are not preferred. Even in species that don't breath hold, lengthy exposure times for gases to be effective are needed.
And then there's also potential risk to the person and the user of the equipment and the gases as well, if they don't know what they're doing and they aren't properly trained to be using those kinds of things. But yes, gassing is one of the options that is discussed, and it is not going to be a euthanasia option that I will recommend. The most preferred method of euthanasia, which is going to be the method that I recommend to you guys and the method that I'm using for my leopard gecko, is going to be the use of barbiturates being injected into the animal. This is how dogs and cats are usually euthanized when it is necessary, and the technique is relatively quick and painless and only takes minutes to perform. To euthanize your pet reptile through a vet, then it is up to you to do your research and find a good licensed veterinarian that specializes in exotic animals. I have never actually brought a reptile to a vet before to be euthanized, so this is going to be my first experience doing so. I'm sure that if you have a good veterinarian, their intentions are going to be to cause the least amount of pain and stress as possible.
Don't be afraid to call ahead of time and ask some questions. I thought I got this part on video, but unfortunately it wasn't recording. But I wanted to just call ahead of time and confirm a few things, such as what their process for euthanizing a pet reptile was like, if the veterinarian has done this type of euthanasia before on this type of animal, if I could be present for the euthanasia process, what the aftercare was going to be like, as well as the overall cost of everything.
We are closed on Sundays. Veterinary care your pet deserves. We look forward to speaking with you in just a moment.
So we would have to charge like a small exam fee, all right? So that's going to be $60. And the euthanasia is $99. So you're looking at like $160 plus tax, basically.
All right, well, thank you very much. So, as you heard on the phone, the vet, she's going to do an exam on him and I guess make sure to see what's going on is actually what's going on. And then we'll make the decision to say goodbye to Randall. Goodbye. So here's Randall, guys. Last day in his tank. You can see I cleaned it out. I'm really sorry, dude. So this is going to be how I'm packing him up. So I have a small container here for him. Actually, this is where I keep my other little containers for emergencies. But I just took those out and left them in here. And you can see I just have a little bit of substrate in there. Then I have another bin to put that bin in. And then I have some towels and stuff to pack that in with. And then I also have that heat pack here that I will be putting in with him just to ensure that he has a small heat source. Even though it is the summer, inside the car and inside the vet might be a little cooler, so I just want to have that in there to ensure that he stays at the same temperature. Ambient temperature may be cooled for a short amount of time so that drugs and other medications can be administered to the animal. However, the animal should then be returned to its optimal body temperature so that it is able to further metabolize those drugs.
First, I'm just gonna put a towel on the bottom there, and then I'm just gonna take the heat pack and place that in there like that.
Now I'm going to place my container in there, and with the other towel, I'm just gonna roll them like this. Doesn't have to be pretty. And then I'm going to just tuck them in the sides there so that he's not wiggling around all over the place. And then finally we have poor little Randall. So you can see this is what we've got. He will be okay in here. And just a little bit of tape for reinforcement to make sure he's not going to come out of there. Now I'm actually not going to put a lid on this. I'm actually just going to take a sheet here and I'm just going to drape it over like that so that he's nice and comfortable. And don't worry guys, he can breathe through this, it's okay. So this is going to be how Randall is traveling to the vet. My vet is only 5 minutes down the road, so it's not going to be a far drive at all. Alright, so we're here, we're at the vet. So the vet confirmed that yes, it was a tumor that Randall has, so I think I'm making the right decision. But she's going to give an injection intramuscular, which will take about 20 minutes or something to take effect, and then I can sit with him in the meantime, and then they will give the lethal injection through the heart. The needle is supposed to help with minimalizing the stress of handling. He was a little stressed out from handling, but the staff did it very quickly and efficiently, and it was done and over with very fast.
We then returned him to his bin where he was able to relax and de-stress and allow for the drugs to take effect. As you can see, the drugs have now taken their effect, and the vet is trying to look for the heart with a light.
You see like a deeper red. It's something called transillumination. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. If it goes inside the heart will usually stop within 3 minutes, so it's a bit quicker. But I don't personally like to try too much to move the needle in there. In theory, he can't feel it, but we don't know. Animals don't talk, so it's just better to go for more humane.
So quite a few weeks have passed since my dear Randall has moved on. I just wanted to go over what happened after I had left the vet. So after they had euthanized my leopard gecko, they will keep the body for about 24 hours or overnight to ensure that the passing is successful. They also mentioned to me that sometimes the body can move even though the animal is deceased, and that can be disturbing to some owners. So they also keep the body for those reasons as well. I picked him up a few days later. Unfortunately, I was unable to pick him up right away. But once I did, I found a spot in the garden in my backyard and found a little burial spot for him. We're gonna put him behind this tree, and then we're gonna put a rock on there to mark his grave. And there it is, his marked grave. Randall, my first little reptile. I've been debating on uploading the video because I was worried that it might upset some people, but I'm hoping that people are able to see that it's in the best interest of reptiles and reptile owners. This isn't an easy decision to make for anybody, and I'm really sorry if you're watching this video right now because you are in that situation. I really don't know how to end this video. It's a sad video. Like, I really don't know how to end it. Thanks again, guys, for watching. I promise in the future that we won't have such depressing videos. I have a few more videos coming out soon, and they're much more happy and exciting videos, so I will be having those out pretty soon. So subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and I will see you guys next time for something a little more happier.